Dear learners, today I will take a class on individual and society. After going through this unit, you will be able to discuss the relation of the individual and society, explain the social context theory, describe the organic theory of society, elaborate on the theory of group of mind, and finally evaluate the modern debate on individual and society. Dear learners, this unit is classified into three parts. In the first part, video 1, let us now discuss the social context theory. Dear learners, different thinkers have put forward their opinion on the relation between individual and society. Although we find different views on the relation between the society and the individual living in it, yet the common viewpoint is that the relation between the two is inescapable. The interesting point is to be raised here is about how society originated and which first comes, the society or the individual. Dear learners, this issue has become an interesting point of discussion not only among the social philosophers but also among the sociologists. Therefore, we get different theories regarding the relation of the two. In this unit, we will discuss the different theories, adding different philosophers' viewpoint regarding the relation between the individual and the society. The three important theories in this regard are as follows. The first one is the social context theory. According to this theory, society is an artificial structure to meet up people's demand. The supporters of this theory are Hobbes, Rousseau, and Locke. This theory is also known as structuralism in modern sense. The second one is the organic theory. According to this theory, society is an organism. Just as an organism is an organic unity of interdependent organs, so also society is an organism of interdependent individuals, but cannot exist apart from each other. The third one is, dear learners, the group mind theory. According to this theory, man is a social being. The social self or ideal self can be realized through society. So man is inconceivable apart from society. Idealist philosophers advocate this theory. Dear learners, besides elaborating on these three theories, we will discuss contemporary debate on the continuous issues of the relationship between the society and the individual and their relative importance. Now, dear learners, we will discuss the theory that is the social context theory. One of the most important theories of the relation between individual and society is the social context theory. This theory holds that the society is an artificial phenomenon. People lived independently of one another without any reciprocal relation. At that time, they thought that they are self-sufficient to run their life. They are learners, but in due course, they come into contact with one another to form a society for their personal advantage. So the emergence of society is a mechanical process of individuals coming together. The advocates of the social contact theory are Thomas Hobbes, Rousseau, and John Locke. Dear learners, we will now discuss their respective philosophers' viewpoint one by one. Now we'll take the viewpoints of Thomas Hobbes. Hobbes, in his book Leviathan, writes that man is selfish, quarrelsome, and aggressive. He is egoistic in nature. As a result, he thinks to be perfect whatever he performs. So his selfish nature is the root cause of the conflict among them. Hobbes writes that the life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. It indicates that nature is a state of war because people want to run their life independently without coming into contact with other fellows. That is why, in order to safeguard their life, they come into a contact with one another. As a result, the concept of society comes into light. Dear learners, according to Hobbes, each individual has desire. By seeking more and more power, individuals are not satisfied with their existing powers. When people desire for the same thing, conflicts arise between. It results in war and they try to destroy one another. Moreover, Hobbes asserts that each individual has two prime motives to attain in their life, such as appetite and aversion. According to Hobbes, appetite and aversion means the object of good and the object of evil. Human can go to any extent for their survival. In man's natural state, moral ideas do not exist for him. Thus, he asserts that in human nature, good is simply a desire, and what they avoid is evil. Evil is hate or undesirable. Through the concept of good and evil, he explains variety of human emotions and behaviors. For example, hope, which is the approach of attaining good but fear, is not predictable as similar to good. According to Hobbes, individuals are fundamentally egoistic. There is no place for morality, goodness, rightness, etc. In their life, they are totally blind to see the value of moral aspects in human life. They are engaged in to think only about their particular survival. They are learners. Later on, people have realization on peace, which is the goal in their life, and therefore they come forward to form some rules or law for their safeguard. This rule or law should be equal for all the individuals and equally benefited for achieving their peace. Their learners, thus, rules are governed by the authority so that everyone can follow the same rule for their safety. It develops their unity and make a good society to live mutually under the same umbrella. Thus, Their agreement form a contract which is so-called the social contract theory of. Now, dear learners, now we'll discuss the viewpoints of John Locke regarding the social contract theory. John Locke holds that the state of nature is against the state of war, which is upheld by Hobbes. Rather, it is a state of peace and goodwill. It is not held that man is independent of nature. The state of nature is governed by the law of nature, which is not challenged by man. So, people are subordinate to the law of nature. That is why it is not like Hobbes' view of contract. Like Locke, Hobhouse also states that everyone is free and born equal in society. So people came into contact to form a society which removes the crude state of nature and form a civil society. After the formation of the civil society, people entered into another contact and form a government to make and enforce laws for the welfare of all. Locke's most important and influential political writings are contained in his two treatises on government. The first treatise is concerned with refuting the argument of Robert Filmer's patriarcha, that political authority was derived from religious authority, also known by the description of the divine right of kings, which was a very dominant theory in 17th century England. The second treatise contains Locke's own constructive view of the aims and justification for civil government, and is titled An Essay Concerning the True Original Extent and End of Civil Government. Dear learners, Locke says the state of nature, the natural condition of mankind, is a state of perfect and complete liberty to conduct one's life as one best sees fit, free from the interference of others. This does not mean, however, that it is a state of license. One is not free to do anything at all one pleases, or even anything that one judges to be in one's interest. The state of nature, although a state wherein there is no civil authority or government to punish people for transgressions against laws. Besides, it is not a state without morality. The state of nature is pre-political, but it is not pre-mortal. Persons are assumed to be equal to one another in such a state, and therefore equally capable of discovering and being bound by the law of nature. The law of nature, which is in Locke's view the basis of all morality and given to us by God, commands that we not harm others with regards to their life, health, liberty, or possessions. Because We all belong equally to God, and we are prohibited from harming one another. So the state of nature is a state of liberty where persons are free to pursue their own interests and plans, free from interference. And because of the law of nature and the restrictions that it imposes upon persons, it is relatively peaceful. Dear learners, the state of nature is the state of liberty where persons to recognize the law of nature and therefore do not harm one another. The state of war begins between two or more men once one man declares war on another by stealing from him or by trying to make him his slave. Since in the state of nature there is no civil power to whom man can appeal, and since the law of nature allows them to defend their own lives, they may then kill those who would bring force against them. Since the state of nature lacks civil authority, once war begins, it is likely to continue. And this is one of the strongest reasons that man have to abandon the state of nature by contracting together to form civil government. Now, dear learners, we'll discuss the viewpoints of J. Rousseau regarding the social contract theory. Rousseau holds that the state of nature was mutual goodwill and happiness. But in due course, the growth of population and the desire to acquire property on the part of the people became the principal cause of conflict and collision among people. Therefore, in order to free themselves from such conflict and collision, people came into contact to defend their property and security. Dear learners, the contract was made not just to protect property and security only. The contract was also formed for cooperation, coordination, and mutual harmony among the people so that people could come into contact easily. So, the main purpose of the contact was to generate a general will so that mutual harmony or social unity would emerge. In this way, the concept of society came into existence. Dear learners, now you see Adam Smith's viewpoint. Adam Smith, a famous economist, holds the view that people came into contact in order to regulate the mutual economy. So his view is that society is an artificial procedure made by man. Rousseau has two distinct social contract theories. The first is found in his essay, Discourse on the Origin and Foundations of Inequality Among Men, commonly referred to as the Second Discourse. And it is an account of the moral and political evolution of human beings over time, from a state of nature to modern society. Thus, It contains his naturalized account of the social contract, which he sees as very problematic. The second is his normative or idealized theory of the social contract, and it is meant to provide the means by which to alleviate the problems that modern society has created for us, as laid out in the social contract. In the second discourse, he describes the historical process by which man began in a state of nature and over time progress in the civil society. According to Rousseau, the state of nature was a peaceful and quixotic time. People lived solitary, uncomplicated lives. Their few needs were easily satisfied by nature. Because of the abundance of nature and the small size of the population, competition was non-existent and persons rarely even saw one another. Much less had reason for conflict or fear. Moreover, these simple, morally pure persons were necessarily endowed with the capacity for pity and therefore were not inclined to bring harm to one another. Dear learners, the social contract begins with the most oft-quoted line from Rousseau. Man was born free and he is everywhere in chains. This claim is the conceptual bridge between the descriptive work of the second discourse and the prescriptive work that is to come. Dear learners, humans are easily free and we're free in the state of nature. But the progress of civilization has substituted subservience to others for that freedom through dependence, economic, and social inequalities, and the extent to which we judge ourselves to comparisons with others. Rousseau's social contract theory brings out a single consistent view of moral and political situation. His view is that people are endowed with freedom and equality by nature, but people's nature has been corrupted by contingent social history. However, people can overcome this corruption by invoking free will, which is good for people both individually and collectively. Now, dear learners, we will discuss some criticism of the social contact theory. Although the advocates view differently in order to explain the theory, still it can be asserted that this theory is not satisfactory. This theory is based neither on historical fact nor on logical truth. The view that man can live apart from their society cannot be accepted because man is a social being. Again, the thought of the state of nature prior to the socialization process in the context of society cannot be easily accepted. We cannot by evidence show that society came into existence in order to protect property and to defend their security. Secondly, the presupposition that the state of nature was selfish and brutal before the contract came into existence cannot be accepted without reservation. Because man is neither absolutely selfish nor absolutely unselfish. We cannot ignore the fact that man has both egoistic and altruistic nature. The social contract theory is not based on logical truth because the social contract presupposes the political consciousness. But we cannot imagine the political consciousness in the state of nature. Therefore, the concept of contract cannot be presupposed before society came into existence. That is why the social contract theory is not satisfactory. The social contract theory is nothing but an attempt of the thinkers to justify the relation between individual and society. Although the reasons of contract presupposed by this theory cannot be accepted, yet the supposition of contract for the emergence of society provides clues to the social thinkers to critically discuss this theory. Now, dear learners, will point out some important or basic points of this part video 1. In this unit, we come across different theories regarding the relation between individual and society from the traditional to modern. In the traditional stage, we have found the theories like the social contract theory, organic theory, and the theory of group of mind. These theories undoubtedly attempt to explain the relationship between individual and society. But their viewpoint, in case of discussing the relationship between the two, can be pinpointed as follows. The social contract theory holds that society is not a natural phenomenon. People felt a necessity of coming into contact to get rid of troubles. So, dear learners, in order to know more about the unit, you have to consult with some important books. These books are S. Aldosi's book, Modernity, Postmodernity, and Neo-Sociological Theories. Then M. Francis Abraham books, Modern Sociological Theory. Then John S. Mackenzie's book, A Manual of Ethics. Then Jane China's book, A Manual of Ethics. Then R.N. Sharma's book, Introduction to Ethics. And H.K. Rawat books, that is sociology, would be very, very important to you in order to understand the unit in a very comprehensive manner. Thank you.